Pregnant women in Missouri could have the right to finalize divorces in the future. Good evening, I'm Steve Grant.
I'm Emily Pritchard. Right now, a judge can deny a divorce if a woman is pregnant. Hannah Falcon shares why some lawmakers want that changed.
Finding out you're pregnant is usually a joyous occasion, but for some women, it means they're trapped.
In the state of Missouri, there are certain areas, certain counties, certain judges that don't necessarily allow a woman to proceed with a divorce while pregnant.
Kansas City Senator Maggie Nurenberg had the same reaction most people do when learning that a 1970s law prevents pregnant women from getting a divorce.
And I was shocked when I heard that. I couldn't believe that that was actually a thing.
She's now part of a bipartisan group of lawmakers pushing for a change.
The real purpose of this bill is to add clarifying language that this would not stop a dissolution of marriage.
Lawmakers have pushed for this change for 15 years, but last year it gained more momentum than ever when Ditmer Representative Cecily Williams shared her personal story.
I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor.
Under this bill, a woman would still have to disclose whether she's pregnant, but it would not stop a judge from finalizing her divorce.
We know that offenders are using this kind of tactic against their intimate partner to keep them in the relationship.
Sarah Bramer with Synergy Services not only helps survivors of domestic abuse, but also works with the abusers on reform. She says abusers often knowingly use pregnancy to trap people in a relationship, and that's why the law needs to be changed.
They really want to stay in that relationship and do everything in their power to continue to manipulate their victim to stay with them.
Last year, the bill made it out of the House with a unanimous vote, but stalled in the Senate. Advocates hope this year will be different when the regular session starts next month. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon, KY3 News.